that's one of the biggest risks in a project on a roof coverage. Yes, you may be able to estimate as much as you want, but two squares of guys just putting a little more and it throws off the entire count.
You're listening to the Roofr Report, the ultimate podcast for roofing professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs. Get insider access and hear about the highs, lows, and tales of triumphs from thriving business owners. Brought to you by Roofr, hosted by Pete McKendrick.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Roofr Report. I'm your host, Pete McKendrick, and joined today by a former guest of the show, former Roofer of the Month here, Juan Rodriguez from Sallas Exteriors. Excited to have you back on, Juan. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Pete. Good morning. This is a great opportunity. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, man. Excited to have you and excited about this topic. You know, it's been something that personally for me has been kind of on the forefront here. I've been talking to a lot of people lately about commercial roofing, and and I do feel like it's a bit misunderstood and a bit underserved, maybe a little bit, by the software side of the market. And so, we're always interested in it and interested in helping commercial roofers as much as we can. But we're seeing more and more, especially like when I'm at shows, I'm getting more and more guys walking up to me. They're saying like, hey, we just started doing some commercial roofing. We're thinking about doing commercial roofing. How does your program work for it? Can I use Roofr for commercial roofing? So excited to kind of dive into all that a little bit with you here today. But for the folks that don't know you or know Sallas, give us a little bit of background on yourself and Sallas Exteriors, where you guys are from, how long you've been in business, stuff like that.
So, thank you for that introduction, Pete. We started in 2024, early 2024, residential market. Here in Houston, Texas, we have such a big area to cover, but at the same time, we have a lot of competition. So what we started was residential. We went lightly door knocking in the beginning, but we started getting more referral partners. The more referral partners we understood that worked for us, the more money we put into attracting a better network of people. And that definitely gave us kind of like a start. Hurricanes, storms, hailstorms, a lot of wind damage in 2024 here really kept us busy. But at the same time, we had a plan. When I started this company. We said, yes, here's my 5-year goal where I want to have my company in the next 5 years. Commercial was part. Commercial side was year 3. We are in 2, and we've already done commercial work. So yeah, I think it's a type of the way we set up our company in the beginning kind of helped us formulate that plan for the commercial side.
I love that you had the commercial idea in mind from the very beginning and that you went into it with a plan that was a 5-year plan, right? Most of the time I think we go into these things or we talk to contractors that are like, yeah, I'm in year 2 and, they're pivoting maybe out of necessity. They're pivoting out of, how competitive a market is. They're, pivoting maybe based on conditions. Like right now, we were just talking about before we jumped on this about hailstorms and how now there's been like a massive lack of weather, right? So, people who were banking on weather haven't had it. Now they're having to make a pivot because of that.
And Pete, that's why we set up our company at Sallas Exteriors instead of Sallas Roofing. When you hear of a roofing company, Sallas Roofing would just be residential, right? But we're more than just that. We are Sallas Exteriors for a reason. We set it up so we can become residential, commercial, industrial work.
Nice. Now, what was the idea? Why did you want to get into the commercial side? Was it just the market itself and how saturated it was, or were there other factors that kind of played into that decision?
It was a little bit of both. Again, our plan, my plan from the beginning was to become a roofing contractor. And for me, that meant I cannot just stick to residential. If I'm going to be an overall roofing contractor, I'm going to be known in my community for roofing. I want to be known in several different circles and networking groups I want to be a complete roofing contractor. And we set that up from the beginnings in order for us to educate ourselves and to make it work. I can't stress enough how much education I've done with my vendor partners, distributors, manufacturers in order to get us to start on the commercial side.
Yeah, how hard did you guys find that transition from, starting out in residential and then deciding, and obviously now it's happened much quicker than you had planned on. So what was kind of the driving force? What allowed you to be able to break into the commercial side, and what do you think were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome to get in there?
Yeah. So again, door knocking for us wasn't a big thing in the beginning. We put our marketing money into referral partners. And the more referral partners, came to us, they loved the work that we did on the residential side. They said, "Hey, I have other clients that, have people that we know that are looking for commercial work, and I can refer them to you. Do you guys do this type of work?" And that kind of came hand in hand, like, "Hey, yes, we are doing some of this work." We started smaller, repairs and things like that. And then we moved into the roof coating side and TPO, mod, pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting piece, right? Because we've talked to even residential roofers that were very small starting out, and they've utilized that repair and maintenance side to get the business up and running. And also, it allows you to learn the roofing systems, right? Like, it allows
Exactly.
you to learn the products and the installation before you take
Correct.
on a much larger project. And so I
Yeah.
think it's a
And
piece
I
that's
would say
majorly
even the
overlooked, you know?
I say even one of the more important parts on the commercial side, it's all about the warranties, right?
Yeah.
If you're not with the right manufacturer that you can provide them that NDL warranty, you're not going to get those bigger contracts or those contracts at all. So starting out on the repair side, understanding how water works on these flat roofs or some pitched roofs, you get the idea behind it. You get your crews to start learning, and they're able to kind of understand it as they go through and start educating themselves, manufacturers, even more. You get that NDL warranty, and man, you know how a system works. Manufacturers do a very good job, many companies, on their overall installation practice.
Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's their material, right? So they want it
Exactly.
installed correctly. Because
Yeah,
if it isn't and it leaks, then it looks bad on them too. So,
that's right.
obviously
Mhm.
smart to take the time to train the installers. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to me. Who are some of the manufacturers that you found easiest to work with on the commercial side?
So I would say, so kind of like a little bit of a information for us. We started with more roof coatings. Okay.
Okay.
In the roof coating side, I think it'd be a little bit easier to start in. We did our research and stuff, and we said, you know what? Let's get with a manufacturer that's local so we can have materials ready when we can, not have to wait. They can give us support on the education side, logistics, and we can partner with our distributors with them as well. Understanding the roof coating and how that works on commercial side, flat roofs, you get the idea quicker than, like a TPO. Why? Because it's less risk, right? You're not opening up an entire system and then you're like, oh, wow, rain is coming here in Houston, it gets crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's one, we minimized our risk by going with the roof coating side first. After we got a few projects in, the guys understood, we were able to kind of market a little more on the TPO repairs and market repairs. Once they understood how to evaluate a roof on the production side, to coat it, we kind of gradually continued to get more education on the TPO side, on the Monfit side, and obviously the metal roof. Those are we love the metal roofs. Those are, I would say, easier than the TPOs and Monfit. So once we got all of that, we partner with on the roof coating side with isothermal protective coatings. We still use them. They're great partners with us. We go through ABC with them, and we've also partnered with Sherwin-Williams Uniflex on the roof coating side. They've helped us a lot on the educational side on the roof coatings. And then we switched towards the TPO, and we've used Heelheim and Versico. Their attention to detail with our training has been fantastic. ABC flew us out to Florida for a Heelheim educational. It was like a 2 day training, 1 day lecture, 1 day installation,
Nice.
and that was amazing. I think that because they invest in things like this education for us as installers, we're able to provide those NDLs with extra detail on our work. And that's what they're looking for. It's not just, hey, let's go out and have a flight and go vacation. No, we're actually running and our guys are
Yeah. You mentioned something there that I really liked. And you said that you're using a local supplier, right? A local manufacturer for these coatings. And I could imagine in the beginning, right, when you're starting out and you're learning how to assess these roofs and stuff like that, being flexible and nimble enough to have someone local, right, that you can go to
yeah.
that, can potentially supply material in a very quick way, right? Makes a huge difference, right? As you
Oh,
guys are kind of
absolutely.
like learning the process and,
Yeah,
you're not getting custom cut material brought in from somewhere,
that's
far
right.
away, like you have
And
somebody right there,
we
right?
that's one of the biggest risks in a project on a roof coating. Roof coatings, yes, you may be able to estimate as much as you want, but 2 squares of a guy's just putting a little more and it throws off the entire count. So I was able to, in our first project, we were running low on material. I underestimated our material waste. Gave him a call, talked to Jorge, and he's like, give me about a day and I'll have it, there in the project.
Nice.
That's the type of partners that we're looking for because those are the type of people that we are.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a great piece of advice. And I love the starting out with the, kind of like learning the ropes there by doing the repairs and getting
Mhm.
into the coatings, right? The coatings obviously being the bridge that allowed you guys to get in there.
Yep,
Let's talk about the quoting side really quickly. Obviously, quoting residential, quoting commercial, very, very different. Like
correct.
I'm learning a lot about it, working with some partners that we have, and how they're quoting and the way that they're approaching quoting and the level of detail has been, really probably the most eye opening part for me.
Yep.
But talk a little bit about how hard it was to convert or to transition from, quoting a residential job, quoting a
Yeah.
single family home to now quoting these bigger jobs.
Um, yeah, so one of the things that in our beginnings, we started out as we're not going to be the cheapest, you know, roofers out there. We're not going to be looking for the term roofer. We want to be a roofing contractor. And what that entailed was we needed to have an entire system. Once we understood the residential market is you're installing a system regardless of which shingle you're putting, you are installing a system on someone's house. That mentality kind of drove us to understand the commercial market. It's the same thing. You're installing a system. You're not just installing, a protective barrier. It's an entire system that revolves on that property. So the transition for us, I don't think was very difficult because we had that mindset. Hey, it's still a system. Now, what goes into that system? For residential, you'll have your ice and water, you'll have your synthetic, you'll have, this and that. Take that same approach, what the system needs for the commercial side. Well, you have, depending on what the plan's called, if you're doing new construction, or depending on if you're just doing a roof coating, well, which type of coating are you doing? Is it going to be an acrylic coating? Is it going to be a silicone coating? And a lot of this was educated from isothermal protective coatings in the beginning, and with mule hide and ABC on the TPO side. They kind of gave us a little bit of back. You can do it this way, you can do it this way, you can do it this way. And it's just like residential. There's a good, better, best. Commercial has the same thing. Transition is not the difficult part. The difficult part is understanding what the system entails, which system you want to push a little more because of what's required.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that from like a coding standpoint. What do you guys install the most, and what do you find the best to install?
Again, it depends. If there's a pitched roof, like let's say 412, metal roof that maybe it's had 14, 15 years, and instead of re-roofing it, you can do a coating if it meets certain specifics. So let's say it has to get some repairs done, and because it's pitch, we can provide an acrylic coating. Now I say that because over time, acrylic it's a water-based product. So water kind of permeates a little more on the silicone side. It's a little more expensive. The acrylic, you can save a little bit more. So understanding which type of system and which type of roof you have is very critical in order to understand which type of quote you're going to give. Flat roofs, we like to do silicone.
Do you find commercial customers to be more educated about their roof, less educated about their roof than a residential homeowner?
I think they're about the same.
Really?
I'll say that. Yeah. Nowadays, there's so much information out there, and everything gets treated as a project, right? So let's say a commercial business owner needs to get a roof. They're not going to say, hey, I want a roof coating. They're going to look for somebody to do an inspection first, and that's where we come in. We still give them the education that they may not find online. Like, okay, if it's a pitch roof, we can do both, either silicone or acrylic, but acrylic, it's going to save you a little bit of money and gives you a very long-term roof. Some people just like to use silicone. Some people just like to use acrylic. We use both. Contractors. We provide what's best for the specific.
Let's talk a little bit about, like, if I'm a guy, maybe I'm a residential roofer right now. I'm looking to break into commercial. Let's talk a little bit about the projects and the margins, right? Because I think a big part of it too is, like if I'm a residential roofer, maybe I've got that system dialed, my team's knocking them out. We're probably doing a fairly decent volume. Those jobs are a quick turnaround, and I'm probably looking at commercial and thinking that's the complete opposite, right? Like these are jobs like I watched. They redid, I was telling you before we started this about, we had a major hailstorm last summer. I watched them re-roof the school down the street from me. And you're talking about a monster job, right? Like, this is a monster high school. And those guys were on that roof for probably, I'd say 2.5 months total, right? Like actually on the roof doing like working their way across the sections of the roof, but it was obviously a major job. With either a lot of damage or a complete re-roof, probably based on insurance. But, for a residential guy, a guy that's been involved in the residential side, looking at that project and was like, the undertaking of managing that and the costs and everything involved in it, is it worth it, right? Is it worth it as a residential guy to make that transition to commercial?
Yeah.
With looking at a project like that, the scope of a project like that.
Yeah. So let me put it back to basics, right? In our beginnings, we didn't do many insurance work roofs, okay? And I think that gave us a easier transition from just, doing retail work, understanding retail work instead of the insurance market. We did insurance work, but if you understand the retail market and that's your majority of your residential roofs, you will have kind of a different mentality when you go on to the commercial roofs. None of our commercial roofs have been insurance. None of them. Why? Because they barely do that,
Yeah.
Maybe not in my area, maybe in other areas, maybe in other cities, but what we've been focused is 100% retail on the commercial work. That being said, residential roofs, knock that out in one day. 100 squares even, knock that out in one day regardless. Commercial roofs on the other side, you are dealing with a massive undertaking. And you have to kind of have a mentality of, yes, there are a little bit better margins. However, you will eat up your labor pretty quickly if you underestimate it, just to win the job, right? It happened to us. Our first project, I think we almost broke even. But that was because we were getting our bearings within the commercial side.
Sure.
And again, coatings is it's less expensive material, labor, everything than a complete TPO moderate roof. So we started that way because it's less risky. Get our bearings in and understand how this works. I would say 100% start with roof coatings and learn the commercial side. Another thing, I would say Roofr kind of helped me out a lot too, because understanding how to put all of my proposals together gave me a complete advantage. We understood on the residential side how to do the proposals with Roofr and all of the technology that we have in our disposable stack. And that transition was very easy. You know, if you're coming from the residential side and you don't use a company like Roofr with everything is digitalized, materials are coming in from your like ABC or all your distributors, not really doing the commercial side. Our easiest transition was we're doing everything digital, apply that to the commercial side, and it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of times we look at CRMs in the market, right? And we're like, oh, well, these guys are built to handle residential roofers. You know, the majority of their, the majority of the people using their product are quoting residential roofing. You know, they're not built for commercial. But more and more, what I'm finding is it's not that much different, right? It's not different
It
enough
isn't.
that you can't use it, right? Like you can
Yeah,
use it. I
of
mean,
course.
I was telling you earlier that we were using. I'm working with a company right now. I've been sitting in on some calls with a company that's making a transition to Roofr and is a fairly large commercial company. And to watch them be able to manipulate our product and our product be flexible enough to be set up in the way that they need it to be to quote large commercial jobs has been
Yeah,
really interesting to be involved in and proved to me, honestly, that it's capable of doing it, right? You know, that you
yeah.
can get in there and you can manipulate it to be what you need on the commercial side and to be able to
And you know
quote
what, too,
just as
Pete?
effectively.
So, like, there's a bunch of different things. So we spoke at on the beginning. If you start out with repairs, right, on the commercial side, there's no different than any repairs on the residential side using Roofr.
Yeah.
Like to give a quote or an estimate, it's exactly the same thing. You would use the same template. It's just commercial instead of residential.
Yeah.
Mhm. You could add things here and there, to make it look nicer, but it's the same thing. And I would say anybody starting out into the commercial side, repairs. No repairs, understand how they work, why they work, and you get to know all the different things on a roof before you scope out a big project.
Yeah.
Another thing, I want to say last year, I think I asked one of the sales reps at Roofr. Roofr had three different workflows,
Yeah.
and because we did residential and commercial, it kind of limited us a bit. And now we have, I think,
Yeah.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
That was huge plus for us now, because now we can do residential and commercial both at the same time with workflows, and the instant estimator kind of helped us out as well to have those workflows. It's so much simpler and cleaner within our home account.
Now, how hard do you find it to be to find commercial jobs versus residential jobs. Now, obviously, like you said, you're in a really saturated residential market there. So I know it's very competitive to land
Yeah.
residential jobs in that Houston area. But when you're looking at both, how difficult has it been for you guys to build that pipeline of commercial versus the
Yeah.
residential side?
I think it all has the same, in my opinion, it has the same amount of work. It's just a bigger monster, right? So you do have to go door knocking on, let's say, multifamily, high rises or mid
Yeah.
rises. You got to go door knock, talk to those property managers, right? They're the ones who can give you access or can give you information. At the end of the day, they're the ones that have to protect the roof or their tenants. So yes, definitely that in that side, you do have a little bit more work. Digital marketing also helps, but again, for us, referral partners are the best.
Yeah, I think that that's a big piece, right? I think it's overlooked a bit on the residential side as the relationship building part of it, but on
Yeah.
the commercial side, it's critical, right?
And I stress so much on the referral partners because for us, if you have one project, let's say with a new construction project that you're doing a new TPO roof, let's say, I don't know, 300 squares, and we're calling 300 squares, that's small on the commercial side, right? Um, and they love the work you did, the level of attention you have with other subs. It's not just you there. It's a bunch of different subs. Um, the organization factor, the communication. If you check all those boxes, why wouldn't they give you more work, right?
Yeah.
So you turn in a company that will hire you in the beginning to give you referrals because it's their own company. They give you bids. Hey, give me a bid for this project. That we call that a referral partner.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a big note, right? I think, we talk about referrals on the residential side, and like a refer a friend here kind of situation, but on the commercial side, you're talking to people who probably own multiple locations, right? Own
Yeah,
multiple properties, right? So
exactly.
they're able to give you referrals on their own pieces of property, right? Say, hey,
Yeah,
you guys did this project. I've got these 4 other projects, these
exactly.
4 other multifamily setups, or I've got some, shopping centers or whatever the case may be, right?
Exactly.
They've got the work, and so those continued relationship with those customers become really critical, right? Because they can feed you
Absolutely.
multiple
And I will
properties.
mention this. I think one of the biggest changes from residential to commercial is how you brand your company. I think that branding side, it's a little more expensive for sure. Your people have to be wearing everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a clean truck. You got to be looking the part on the commercial side because maybe on a house you're talking about 20,000, 30,000. On a commercial project, you're in the hundreds of thousands for even a small project.
Yeah.
So when the balance difference of these projects is so much bigger, they're looking for that extra branded, completely professional company.
Yeah, makes total sense. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's a lot more money involved, and you're potentially competing with other larger companies, right? A lot of times on the
Exactly.
commercial side, you're up against some
Yep.
larger competition, and so
Yeah.
having that, like you said, looking the part, and being able to go there and have that level of professionalism can make a huge
Yeah.
difference.
And also, this is probably the biggest thing that helped us out. And this is a huge tip for everybody. Just because you're doing commercial doesn't mean you have to have that you don't need to have a lean company. We're still very lean, Pete.
Yeah,
Very lean. And that gives us the biggest advantage. Company that's been around for 40 years just doing commercial, they probably have 10 locations nationwide. They have big payroll that they have to, get done by every week. Uh, that gives us a big advantage when we don't have a huge warehouse. We don't have several locations. We're still small. We can still compete because our prices may be a little lower. We don't have that extra overhead.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because when we were talking about profit margins a couple of minutes ago, and you were talking about how you guys barely broke even on the first job.
Yeah,
So, but the biggest thing I took away from that whole piece was being able to manage your costs, right?
yeah,
Like you said, the crew even putting down a little extra material in the wrong places, can end up costing you on the material side, or you can
yeah,
burn through your labor extra quickly. And so being able to really dial in managing your costs seems like it's more important than the actual
correct.
revenue profit side.
It's more on the project management side
Yeah.
because you're actually handling a project. Residential work, yes, you are handling a project, but it's a 1 day project.
Yeah.
You know, once you repeat that process over and over and over again, you have it down to the T, And if you have some leftover materials, like nails or whatnot, you're going to use that on the next project.
Right. Yeah.
Commercial, it may not be the case. If you overestimate, you may not get the project. If you underestimate, you may not make any margins.
Right.
So you have to know your labor side a little, and that will come with experience. There's just no other way,
Yeah.
unless you have within your team that you want to spend the money and have a good estimator and a good project manager starting out, then absolutely do it. And even then, you may fall into areas where weather can really screw up a project.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. From a timeline standpoint, what is the average timeline of a project? Like from the time you get a lead, let's say a customer says, "Hey, I need you to go over here and quote a project." From the time you're quoting that project to the time you guys are actually like finished with it, how long is
Yeah,
that life cycle in comparison to residential? Because like you just said, residential, we think quick turnover, right? We think high
right.
volume, lots of leads. We're going to sign up, whatever 30% of them, and then we're going to just pump them through the system. Every day we're on a new house.
Yep.
What does a timeline look like? How different is that timeline
Yeah,
on a
timeline's
commercial
a
side?
lot different, completely different. So, normally you have a project that may be, again, let's call it a smaller side, 300 squares, right? Well, you have to go in. Let's say you get a call and say, "Hey, look, we're looking to have a roof replacement on this 300 square, commercial property." Okay, you go, you do your inspection, just like your residential side. But at the same time, you're also competing with maybe four other commercial property. I'm sorry, commercial roofers, and they take time to do their inspection. Not like the residential side. Maybe on some more difficult cases, the property owner has to get a thermal camera um, company that does a more complete inspection. If they share that with you, great. If you have the capability of doing that, even better. But it does take a little longer. Then on making that decision, the client has to make a decision, and that takes many different channels of communication. They're not the ones paying,
Yeah.
but they're the ones that are having to do all the logistics. So once that reaches the right person on that food chain, they make the decision, and let's say they give you the project, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe even 3 months have passed by.
Yeah.
So and then from you to start going and doing the roof, maybe another month goes by. Maybe you're already busy. And yes, they give you, or maybe they have, you know, other subs working around and you can't be there. And it's a lot more logistics than residential.
Yeah.
But that's safe to say that once you understand the commercial, you educate yourself and your team a lot, that becomes the standard. You'll see that you grab that mentality and you place it on even on the residential side, and you'll understand even bigger things that you were missing, and you thought you had it 100% down.
It's funny because I was going to ask you that question. How much do you think being on the commercial side and figuring that side out has helped your residential side of your business?
Yeah. Oh, a lot. Well, one of the biggest thing that we started within our second year. We started last year, new construction on custom homes, and we did about maybe 50 houses within that year. Great number. Not many margins were very low, single digits.
Yeah.
Now having that extra knowledge on the commercial side, you can apply that, let's say, on the residential new construction, not just on the commercial. I'm sorry, not just on the custom homes, but on bigger builders, track homes.
Yeah.
And if you can get contracts there is money to be made. It's just knowing how to make those margins, small margins, but big volume.
Yeah.
That transition from the commercial side is one of the things that we're wanting to have on the new construction, shingle installation, roof installation, track homes. And that's our plan for the next couple years. And I'll say this, Houston may have a leg up on other cities because there's so much construction here. And there's still so much work. The margins are even lower. And it's just a matter of how you position your company, your team on the logistical side.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is based on relationship too, right? So
Oh, absolutely.
that's carrying over a bit from the commercial side as well, as, like those builder relationships obviously can be long-term and can produce a lot of volume for you, as they move from one neighborhood to the next. And so, but that's, I think, a piece that you're taking
and on
from
the
the
new
commercial
construction
side.
side, Pete, just like we have our shingle installer crews, right? For big construction companies, they put the same how do I put this? They put the same value on having the same crew all the time.
Yeah.
If you do a good job the first couple of times, they're married with you. They are wanting to keep you, just like we want to keep our crews. Our new construction side is pretty much to make very little money, but to maintain our guys working throughout the year. That's our biggest push because it makes no sense for you to have the best crew. You could only give them maybe 3-4 houses a week. Whereas, and not every month will be filled. Or if you're having new construction work, let's say 10 to 11 months out of the year, you can have them filled.
Yeah.
And they'll stay with you. Big companies on the commercial side do the same thing. They're always doing build outs. And they want to maintain you so you don't go with their competitors.
Keep the work in your back pocket, right? Keep the guys
busy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I like it. Well, talk a little bit, just really quick here.
A little bit of effort onto that. So we are a labor-based or labor mentality roofing contractor. Why? Because we can sell all we want, but if we can't provide the service, we don't have a company.
Yeah.
Or we can have a bunch of labor guys, but we can sell a little bit, but maintain the guys all the time. Right now, it's just me and one other person as a sales rep. And for the time being, that's all we need.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I preach this quite often, right? Is that like the production side of things, I think gets like kind of second billing, right? If you look even, you look at the trainings that are out there and the conferences that are out there, like so much of it is based around sales and how do we sell more? How do we sell better? How do we build a bigger sales team, right? Yeah. And you hardly see anything with regards to the production side of things. And it becomes a massive bottleneck.
Sales is important, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, without leads coming in and without closing, you won't have the guys working. However, if you position yourself to have referral partners that will vouch for you, that will give you that extra, instead of having 1 foot in the door, you're pretty much having 1.5 foot in the door,
Yeah. Yeah. And what I always find interesting though, is you see so many companies that overlook the production side, like they aren't labor focused. And so what happens is they sell, and then they create a bottleneck internally, right? Yep. Where now you have long lead times. It hurts your customer experience, right? You aren't available, to potentially, like, you've got your guys overworked or overstretched now, instead of in a situation where you guys are, where you're able to manage your labor,
Yeah.
effectively across a couple different areas. And so,
Yeah. And
yeah,
maybe on the residential side, you can kind of you have a little more wiggle room. But on the commercial side, you tell one of your best clients, you sign a contract, you have to fulfill your contract. Because if not, their entire project, it's late
yeah,
because of you. And then they won't hire you.
yeah, yeah, you have to, you have a much more strict timeline around that side.
Correct.
Yeah. You don't have the flexibility necessarily that you have on the residential side.
Correct.
Yeah. So talk really quick here as we wrap up a little bit about the future of Salus. What are you guys looking to do here in the next couple of years as a company? What's the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've had to kind of reformat our business plan because we kind of got ahead of the game a little bit more. We definitely want to focus more on the high-rise, mid-rise, high-rise, multifamily within our area. That's one of the areas that we feel that we are now able to do. We've actually done a couple projects already, and it's a matter of investing the right money, meeting the right people, and to do the right jobs. New construction on the residential side, tract homes. I want to be able to provide my guys with more labor. That way they're, completely stacked. And even if that means bringing in a new crew to do our residential side and kind of mix and match, you know. So new construction, residential tract homes, and commercial, still residential, but it's multifamily, high rise, mid rise projects. Maintain that commercial pipeline that we got. Build a couple more new construction commercial projects. And another thing that we want to do is, because of the clientele that we have on the commercial side, they love the way we're working. We don't just do roofs for them. We do roof insulation, gutters, and exterior coatings or paint. And siding too, depending on the project. But anything that goes outside and protects water from coming into their property, that's our or where we want to excel and where we want to put our monies into bringing in more projects.
I like it. Well, this has been fantastic, Juan. I really appreciate you jumping on. I think this has been some great insight. Like I said, I think we have more and more people kind of looking, at the commercial side of things and seeing if it's viable for them, if it works, if it's something they want to get into. And so I think this has been some great information, to maybe encourage some people.
Love commercial, right? And Roofr has been able to help me get to that level. So this is a great presentation for me to give, because on the commercial side, you'll stumble. A lot of people don't share information.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I said, you're dealing with a lot of times with larger companies, I think on the commercial side. And so, not maybe as forthcoming with the information. So, but I'm seeing more and more smaller companies that are looking to get into the commercial side of things and seeing if it's something that will work for them. So I appreciate you sharing the info today.
Thanks for the time, Peter. I love jumping into the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully you guys get something good out of this and some of our other podcasts. If you haven't checked out our Roofer of the Month series, as well as some of the other guests that we've had here recently, I always encourage you to go check that out. You can grab those on our website or YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify and all of those places. Jump on there, give a listen to some of these episodes. And again, thanks, Juan. I appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Thanks, Pete, and thanks to everybody.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you next time on the Roofr Report. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. Check us out next time on the Roofr Podcast. But until then, be sure to like us, subscribe to us, and check out all our other episodes on YouTube and Spotify.